children assembled first. Clean forgot what day it was. The official of the lottery used to stand just so. The morning of June 27th was clear and sunny, with the fresh warmth of a full summer day. The flowers were blossoming profusely and the grass...
Afternoon tea with a wary eye to the sugar bowl. A trip to the dentist, where more than just a tooth is lost. A search for your fiancé on your wedding day, and every day, without end. Her settings familiar, her situations normal, uneasy, anxious, paranoid, terrifying. We return to Shirley Jackson's work again and again. Her straightforward prose invites us to the table, comforts us, like the dinners she made for her family and friends, until we become outsiders. Her humor and wit lures us across, quietly, the fine line between mental illness and the supernatural, forces us to face the truth about ourselves and our fears. We return to Shirley Jackson's work again and again. The world is stacked against us. Sinister forces are at work around us. We return to Shirley Jackson's work again and again.
And then they were upon her.
Welcome to the Shirley Jackson Awards ceremony. The Shirley Jackson Awards were established in 2007 with the permission of the Jackson estate to recognize the legacy of the author of such classic works as The Haunting of Hill House, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and one of the most famous short stories in the English language, The Lottery. In keeping with this legacy, the awards honor outstanding achievement in the literature of horror, psychological suspense, and the dark fantastic. Each year, a jury of professional writers, editors, critics, and academics selects both nominees and winners for the best work published in the preceding calendar year in 6 categories: novel, novella, novelette, short story, single author collection, and anthology. We are also deeply grateful to Shirley Jackson's family for their continued confidence and support. The work of Shirley Jackson continues to be a major influence on writers of every kind of fiction, from the most traditional genre offering to the most innovative literature works. We are pleased to honor her work by honoring the work of extraordinary writers on this year's ballot. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the ceremony.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the award ceremony for the 2024 Shirley Jackson Awards. I'm Brett Cox. I am technically the immediate past president of the board of directors of the Shirley Jackson Awards. That's a term I borrowed from my friends at the International Conference on the Fantastic and the Arts. I hope they don't mind. And I currently am happily serving on the board of advisors. And just when I thought I was out, they sucked me back in. But I just have a few preliminary things to say, and mostly thanking people, and Lord knows there are plenty of people to thank. And then I will put into context the adjustments we have had to make in the program that make what is stated in your hard copy programs at variance with what we are actually going to do. But mostly just welcome. Welcome to everybody here at Readercon. Welcome to all of our nominees, all of our past winners, everybody who's here to help us celebrate the very best of work in the areas, as it says in the award description of horror, psychological suspense, and the dark fantastic. The first people we want to thank are the estate of Shirley Jackson, Shirley's children. Now, I know that broadly speaking, we're all Shirley's children, but she actually had 4, and they're all still happily very much with us, and they have been unceasingly generous in their support of their awards from the day when we got the go-ahead to do the award and named the award after Shirley Jackson, right up to last month when Joanne and I were with all of them in North Bennington, Vermont. And if you've never been to North Bennington, Vermont, and you want to know where that story, The Lottery, came from, go to North Bennington, Vermont. It's self-evident. So thank you so much to the Jackson Hyman family. Thanks also to Readercon. They've been with us from the beginning, and thanks to everybody who's helped make the tech work here this year. All these dedicated young people, it's just exhausting to watch them. And support that we have from the publishing community. One of the ways I knew that this award had finally established itself was when, in the following year, I would see books appear on bookstore shelves with a blurb saying Shirley Jackson Award winner, and author bios that said Shirley Jackson Award winner. So score, we did that. I want to acknowledge our board of advisors, which includes me, Ellen Datlow, Elizabeth Hand, John Langan, Sarah Langan, Stuart Onan, Faye Ringel, Becky Spratford, Paul Tremblay, Anne Vandermeer, and Karen Warren. And within the Board of Advisors is just about everybody, those of us who founded the award way back in 2007, and that was Paul Tremblay, John Langan, Sarah Langan, Joanne Cox, and me. And this is my cue to make my annual statement that I am directed to make in no uncertain terms. For anybody who hasn't been here before, Joanne and I are not related. She wants to be really clear about that. And also, John Langan and Sarah Langan are not related. And to this day, we don't know about Paul Tremblay. We just can't figure it out. And I also want to acknowledge our current board of directors. Sorry for the paper shuffling, but this has a surprisingly large number of moving parts. The current board of directors, which is our current board president, Lisa Morton, Vice President Kate Maruyama, Victor Laval, Jack M. Haringa, Linda D. Addison, and Joanne, I'm not married to him, Cox. So we've got a dedicated crew of people who work every year to make these things happen. Nobody does more than Joanne. I'm standing here because she has kept this moving. So thank you for that. So anyway, let's see. Who else do I have to thank? There's so many people. I do want to acknowledge this year's jurors. If anybody, let me see by show of hands, how many people have ever served on a literary awards jury? Oh, yeah. Well, you know what I'm talking about. It is an insane amount of work, just an extraordinary amount of work. And year in and year out, we assemble a group of jurors who do the work and give us, their selection of these stories. And this year's jurors were Leslie S. Klinger, Michelle Renee Lane, Anya Martin, Sam J. Miller, and Terry Lee Ralph. So I want you to join me in thanking our jurors for all the work that they did. And I also want to acknowledge all of the nominees that are here. In fact, if you are a nominee for this year's Shirley Jackson Award, please stand up. and be recognized. You are making us all look good, once again. Now, in my notes here it says description of award, but you already got that from the video. We've been going since 2007. We are, to my utter astonishment and exhaustion, coming up on our 20th anniversary. I find that hard to believe. We'll figure out what to do when that time arrives. Now, in terms of moving on with the ceremony, but before I forget, did I forget anything? Have I covered everything? Okay. Before I move on, I do want to acknowledge the pivot we have had to make, as I suspect you all here in the room know by now. One of our guests of honor, P. Shelley Clark, unfortunately had to leave the convention early, and he was scheduled to be up here making some remarks about Shirley Jackson and presenting the awards. So take it as a mark of his excellence that it has taken 6 people to replace him. We are very pleased to have a distinguished panel of former Shirley Jackson Award winners, former Readercon guests of honor, and in some cases both. And we're going to bring them up here one at a time, and each of them is going to present one of the awards, and if they are so moved, say something about Shirley Jackson or the awards or whatever comes to mind. It's going to be just like the Oscars, except that it's not going to go on that long. So anyway, our first presenter for the evening was a guest of honor at Readercon 20. She won the Shirley Jackson Award in 2013 for her novelette, Crime, Murder in a Small Voice. And her work is as compelling as it is breathtakingly erudite. You always know when you're getting a story from her that that's her story. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Greer to present the award. I'm sorry, see, I'm so excited, I'm getting mixed up here. To present the first award of the evening for Best Short Fiction, please welcome to the stage Greer Gilman.
It's an honor and a joy to celebrate the heirs of Shirley Jackson, the voices of the dark. You rock. Okay, the nominees in the short fiction category for the 2024 Shirley Jackson Awards are Kamchatka by Christina Ten, Strike by Jessica P. Wick, Mammoth by Manish Melwani, Moon Rabbit Song by Carolyn Hong, and Three Faces of a Beheading by Arkady Martine. And the award goes to, I've always wanted to do this. The award goes to Three Faces of a Beheading by Arkady Martine. Go you.
While we were often confused for each other, I'm actually not Arkady Martine. Arkady is a dear friend of mine, and she wanted me to read this to you all because she is deeply touched. Thank you so very, very much for naming Three Faces of a Beheading this year's Shirley Jackson Award E for short fiction. I am honored and a little overawed. Jackson and her work are a lodestone for me, a dark and entrancing magnet. I simply never thought that one of my stories would be eligible for a Shirley Jackson Award at all. My horror is all science fiction, and this story is half an academic argument about usurpation and historiography, which I meant to put in a monograph I'm almost certainly never going to finish, and yet here I am. Thank you again. Thank you especially for awarding this story with its structure games and interpolations of a barely disguised late Byzantine historiographic commentary, a story that I needed to write to break my own sense of paralysis when I was skirting around and shuddering away from how I feel about being an artist during a genocide, namely the current war Israel is conducting in Palestine. Three Faces of a Beheading isn't about a war, but it's about that feeling, that flinch and terror and wanting desperately to say something anyway. Have I mentioned I am Jewish? I am. Free Palestine. Lastly, I want to thank as well the author Melissa Scott and her amazing novel Burning Bright, without which I would not ever have come up with the multiplayer RPG in the center of Three Faces. And to thank Uncanny Magazine and its editors Michael and Lynn Thomas, who saw exactly what I'd meant to do in this story and gave it a platform and a home. They are a joy to work with. And as always, everything I write is better because of my wife, Vivian Shaw, who shows me where I've left the story in my mind and never put it on the page, the story included. That what clarity exists between the three or so unreliable narrators and the juxtaposed point of views is all due to her making sure I put it there. Thank you, Vivian. Then thank you all again. The honor is really mine.
Okay, next up is the award for single author collection. Now, my wife, who, as we clearly established earlier, is not Joanne, my wife is the coolest playwright I know, but our presenter for this award is a close second. She is a distinguished playwright and novelist and educator, and she was a previous guest of honor at Readercon 25. To present the award for single author collection, please join me in welcoming to the stage Andrea Hairston.
Well, I read Shirley Jackson in junior high or high school with my, wonderful classmates, and we read The Lottery, and we were completely blown away, and we plotted how we could get around it somehow. And that was one of the beginnings of my appreciation of all things mysterious and dark. So I am very happy to be up here to read for the nominees in the single author collection. And they are The Bone Picker, Native Stories, Alternate Histories by Devan Mihisua. Dead Girl, Driving and Other Devastations by Karina Bousset. Midwestern Gothic by Scott Thomas. A Place Between Waking and Forgetting by Eugen Bacon. These Things That Walk Behind Me by David Surface. And the winner is Midwestern Gothic by Scott Thomas.
Thank you so much for this incredible honor. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to thank you in person. I was really hoping to make it, but I want you all to know how much this means to me. I wrote my first story in the first grade. It was a one-page mystery written in crayon about a detective who finds a dead body floating next to a cruise ship. And this was back in the 1980s, so they didn't send me to the school counselor. They encouraged me to keep writing. And I did. My stories only got more dark and disturbing. Horror has always been my favorite genre, There's nothing I love more than a good ghost story. But somehow, as an adult, I ended up making a living creating and running TV shows for Disney, which is what I'm doing now. So to have my collection of horror novellas recognized with such a prestigious award is a dream come true. Honestly, to have my name mentioned in the same sentence as Shirley Jackson is pure insanity. I want to thank everyone at the Shirley Jackson Awards, Adam Gomlin, and all the wonderful people at Inkshares. And I want to give a special shout out to the other amazing nominees. Finally, I'd like to dedicate this to every kid in every first grade class who has a wicked idea for a dark, scary story. Write it down and keep writing. Don't ever stop. People might think you're weird, but they might also one day give you an award for it. Thank you.
Words to live by. Our next award is for Best Edited Anthology. And to present that award, we have yet another previous Readercon guest of honor at Readercon 26, and a former juror for the Shirley Jackson Awards, and one of our most essential reviewers and critics and commentators on the literature of the fantastic, and in his former capacity as the series editor for the Modern Masters of Science Fiction series at the University of Illinois Press, through his saintly patience, made sure that one of my books actually got done and turned in and published. So please, for the award for Best Edited Anthology, to present that award, please welcome to the stage Gary Wolfe.
His book was actually pretty good, so if you, Roger, I get to present the award for Best Edited Anthology, which I really appreciate because edited anthologies is where you find new writers you didn't know about before. And the first Shirley Jackson story I ever read was not The Lottery. It was in an edited anthology that began in the early 1950s. People who are really Jurassic like I am remember that an editor named Judith Merrill started the first really successful series of best annual science fiction and fantasy. And in volume 1 of that, published by Gnome Press, was a story called One Ordinary Day with Peanuts. And if you haven't read that, in its way, it's creepier than The Lottery. But the award nominees now for the Best Edited Anthology are Bury Your Gaze, an anthology of queer horror, edited by Sophia Ajram; The Crawling Moon, edited by Dave Ring; Monsters in the Mills, edited by Christina Carmen and L.E. Daniels; The White Guy Dies First, edited by Terry J. Benton Walker; and Why Didn't You Just Leave, edited by Julia Rios and Nadia Bolkin. I just love all those titles. And the winner is Why Didn't You Just Leave, edited by Julia Rios and Nadia Bolkin.
Well, thank you so much. I was truly not expecting this. When I found out that this was nominated, I talked to my co-editor, Nadia Bolkin, who unfortunately can't be here, and we said, what an honor for all our wonderful authors, and there's no way we're going to win against all of these other amazing anthologies. So I would like to thank everyone else who edited an amazing anthology in this category, because you all are doing stellar work. And Nadia and I both want to thank all of our authors and also our publisher, Cursed Morsels, without whom we couldn't have made this book. No one writes a haunted house like Shirley Jackson. I grew up reading those stories and loving them, And we wanted to create something where we really dug into the question of why people would stay in a haunted house. And right now, living in the US kind of feels like living in a haunted house, but we all have our reasons why we can't leave. We are so grateful to all of you, and I'm so glad that the stories in this anthology have touched other people as well. Thank you.
Okay, and it is my privilege to present the award for Best Novella. The nominees in the Novella category for the 2024 Shirley Jackson Awards are Coup de Grace by Sophia Ajram, Hollow Tongue by Eden Royce, Red Skies in the Morning by Nadia Bulkin, A Scout is Brave by Will Ludwigson, and A Voice Calling by Christopher Barzak. And the award goes to Hollow Tongue by Eden Royce. I knew I was going to lose track of one of these pieces of paper. Aiden could not be with us tonight, and she sent these written remarks in acceptance of the award from Eden Royce. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I can't be with you all tonight to accept this award, so I will be lavish in my thanks. Thanks to my mom and to my husband for your support, patience, and encouragement. It means the world to me, and I love you both so much. My sincerest thanks to everyone who read, loved, shared, and recommended Hollow Tongue. I appreciate you all. Thank you to this year's judges for selecting Hollow Tongue as the winner in the Novella category. I know it's an extra duty on your already full plates to read and discuss and select the short list, then the winners, but you do such important work. Thank you to Rhonda Jackson Joseph for selecting my manuscript, for the tons of submissions to Raw Dog Screaming Press's open call for their new novella line. You saw the value in Maxine and her story, and I am grateful. Thank you to Jennifer Barnes, guiding me through the publication process with Raw Dog Screaming. Your ongoing support of this title is phenomenal. When I saw the call for this new novella line, I just had to write something for it, but I had no ideas and a very short deadline. Not a great combination. Then I remembered a short story I'd written a while back. It was a gentle romantic fantasy, and I couldn't sell it to save my life. I thought, does no one want a sweet romance from me? Okay, fine, I'll remake this into horror. And I did. I took that story, turned it inside out, and gave it a new life as a Southern Gothic horror. This goes to show you, you should never throw your words away. One day, they could be the beginning of a brand new start. Thank you all. But wait, there's more. Our next category is for Best Novelette. Our presenter for this category is definitely the tallest among our presenters tonight. It's a cheap joke, but it's no less true for that. He is a current and forever winner of the Shirley Jackson Award in this very category for Best Novelette for Pride and Prometheus, which was later expanded into a novel of the same title. He is also a two-time winner of the Nebula Award, winner of the Locus Award, and certainly for me has for a very long time served as an example of how you combine an academic career with a creative career and somehow managed to make both of them work very well indeed. So for the award for Best Novelette, please join me in welcoming to the stage John Kessel.
Hi there. So let's see if I can embarrass myself a little bit. I'm glad to be here, and I'm honored to present the Shirley Jackson Award for Best Novelette. I was so honored to receive it so many years ago. I was and am a fan of Jackson's fiction and of subtle psychological terror and unease. And if you don't mind my saying, I've thought about the reception of Jackson's work versus that of her contemporary Flannery O'Connor, who both of whom died too young. O'Connor in 1964 at the age of 39, and Jackson in 1965 at the age of 48. Both of them wrote disturbing fiction that tread the borders of the fantastic and that challenged everyday American certitudes. O'Connor's fiction was embraced by the literary world to the point almost of literal canonization. Jackson, though the lottery became famous, did not attract literary study until recently. O'Connor's stories had a great influence on my own work, but over the years I've come to feel that Jackson is the more interesting writer. Not that these two great writers need to be set in competition with one another. But I am glad that Shirley Jackson's work is getting more attention today and that the Shirley Jackson Award exists to bring attention to fiction that shares the qualities that make her writing so remarkable. So, the nominees in the Novelette category for the 2024 Shirley Jackson Awards are All the Parts of You That Won't Easily Burn by Eric LaRocca, The Girl with Barnacles for Eyes by Lindsay Kroll, His Unburned Heart by David Sandner, Ready Player N+1 by M. Shaw, Stay on the Line by Clay McLeod Chapman, The 13 Ways We Turned Daryl Dotson Into a Monster by Kurt Favre. And the award goes to... Can you hear? We should have a drum roll, I would think. We could have a drum roll. Yeah, okay, there we go. The award goes to The 13 Ways We Turned Daryl Dotson Into a Monster by Kurt Favre.
First off, let me start by saying that I'm both shocked and elated by this honor. Thank you so much. More specifically, thank you to the Shirley Jackson Awards Committee. It's beyond gratifying to know that some of the best and brightest in the literary world see my merit. Thank you. Eternal thank yous also to Sam Cowan and Dim Shores Publishing for believing in my work and always making it better, sleeker, and more polished. To all the editors and publishers and writers who have helped me in my writing journey, you're far too numerous to name individually, but thank you too. And to all my readers who helped give me the will to keep writing and telling stories, my everlasting love and thanks as well. If there's only one message that I'd really hope to impart to readers of the 13 Ways We Turned Daryl Dotson Into a Monster, it's that we should never stop fighting bullies in all their forms, even if they grind us down. We live in a time and place where violence born out of hatred against others with a capital O is not only commonplace but enshrined in our systems of power and wealth. We really must be on guard to not let that hatred into ourselves, and instead try to meet it with resistance of all kinds in all places. Only then might we approach the creation of a better and hopefully more equitable world. So let's try to make that so. And once again, thank you.
More words to live by. Our final award of the evening is for Best Novel, and once again, we have a presenter who is a previous Readercon guest of honor, at Readercon 20. She has won more awards than I can keep track of, including the Nebula Award, the World Fantasy Award, and for our purposes is a 3-time winner of the Shirley Jackson Award. She won the Shirley Jackson Award the very first year we gave it, in 2007, for Best Novel for Generation Loss. She won again in 2011 for Best Novella for Near Zinner, and again in 2015 for Best Novella for Wilding Hall. And she also was the recipient of a special award as part of the 2023 Shirley Jackson Awards to Elizabeth Hand in recognition of A Haunting on the Hill, a novel and also authorized by the Jackson estate, which returns readers to the world created by Shirley Jackson in The Haunting of Hill House. I've known Liz longer than either of us cares to admit, and sometimes when writers get together, they talk about writing, but more often than not, they talk about anything other than writing. And whenever I see Liz, the conversation more often than not turns to music. So please join me in welcoming to the stage rave fave and all-around rocking good news, Elizabeth Hand.
Thank you, Brett, and thank you all. This is always just such an amazing experience to be here as somebody, like I think everyone in this room and all the people not in this room, the readers and the writers who grew up reading Shirley Jackson. And I think that the award, which almost 20 years ago, when you all started it, I don't know that even in your wildest dreams you could have imagined the number of writers, not just the people who receive the awards, but the short list every year. This is like my reading list for the year. It's a humbling and moving experience to be in the room with all of you, to have read your work, many of you over the years. So anyway, thank you. So I will now go to the nominees in the novel category for the 2024 Shirley Jackson Awards are Curdle Creek, a novel by Yvonne Battle-Felton. The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. Ein Hollow by Tim McGregor. The Haunting of Belkwood by Gwendolyn Kist. The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden, and Smother Moss by Elisa Allering. And the award goes to Curdle Creek by Yvonne Battle-Felton.
Ever since I was a kid, I imagined myself in stories. I fought dragons, mixed potions, solved mysteries. There was no limit to the stories I could be in, to the places I could explore. I was asking questions, even then. As I grew up, I needed different adventures, solved different mysteries, asked different questions. When I first read Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, it haunted me. There was something about a rural town with sinister traditions that pitted people against people in the name of the town, traditions, the future, that felt a lot like, well, familiar in some ways. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want to live there, but I liked having the option. The lottery encouraged even more questions. What would it be like to live in our own version? Were we already living it? Then I saw an adaptation on YouTube. There were no people of color in it. What would it be like if there had been? I sat with that question for years. Then I moved to England, and the questions returned an ordinance at a time. What happens when the place we call home turns against us? What happens when the rituals require sacrifice? Finally, inspired by the lottery and the news, it was time to find out. It is an honor to be nominated for the Shirley Jackson Award. I'm in such great company. All of the nominations are stunning, and it's an immense honor to have won. I wish I could be there celebrating with you today. A thank you to the judges and readers. Thank you to Elise Dillsworth, who helped to bring Curdle Creek to publishers, and to my editors, Retha Powers of Henry Holt and Hannah Chakwa of Dialogue Books, John Murray Press, for believing in Osiris' story and helping me bring it to life. Thank you to the assistant editors, cover artists, and booksellers, the teams that make books and help the books we make reach readers where they are. Immense thank you to readers for spending time in Curdle Creek. It really is a town just dying to make you at home. Thank you to my children, Mira, Marat, and Noah, for being light in dark days. I write to understand the world around me, to understand, if possible, who we are with the lights off, to make sense of these places we call home, and to ask questions, and when I'm lucky, to find answers. Thank you ever so much for this award.
Okay, one final round of thanks, and that has got to start with our heartfelt thanks to our presenters who just turned on a dime. We found out we were going to need to do this last night, relatively late last night, and we got in touch with everybody, and their answers were quickly and across the board, "Of course I will." And we are so grateful to you for stepping up and helping us out here and being a part of this ceremony. I do want to ask all of the winners and this year's nominees who are here to please come up to the front of the room. There are people who want to take your picture. So please don't run away. Please come up to the front of the room and be sure that we can get our photos. Thanks again to Readercon. Thanks again to everybody who made this happen. Thanks to all of you for being here. And once the pictures are done, I believe the bar is that way. Thank you all very much.